Welcome to the Missouri Woods and Water Podcast with your host, Nate Thomas, flying solo today. But we got a good one today. It's a little bit different than what we normally do, but um, we think so highly of this company that we decided to kind of talk about the backstory, how they, were to come about, and then how they, help people in the outdoors. So our show today is with one of the owners of Alps Outdoorz, Adam Brune, and we are talking about the story of Alps and what they do, out in the community, getting people out in the outdoors, whether that's hunting or fishing, and that's what we're doing today. So, it's a little bit different than the bull crapping and stuff like that we normally do. So, before we get into the show, let's get into our sponsors for today. Obviously, first and foremost, we got Alps Outdoorz, terrific company. We talk about several of their products in the show that we actively use. And if you're looking to get some of that stuff, which, like I said in the show, we use every bit of those items. Use our code 2023 Woods Water for 30% off. I think it should still work. If it doesn't, hopefully we'll have a code for 2024 for you when you hear this. But as of now, that's the code we got. So just keep trying it out. Weber Outfitters, weberoutfitters.com. When you hear this, this will be the Tuesday before they have their coyote tournament, which is coming up. So, get out there to Hawk Point and support them and check them out. I don't know that we're going to make it to the coyote tournament. Got some other stuff going on that week that's going to cause us to travel. So it will be difficult, but we'll be back out there for sure at some point. So check out Weber Outfitters, Athlon Optics. Stuff's awesome. I've got my Aries scope back on my Christensen NPR. Really excited to get that thing sighted in, and got an Athlon on every single one of my rifles at this point. So check them out, athlonoptics.com. On X, use the code MWW20 for 20% off. I got the Elite pack, I think it is, or the Elite, which is all 50 states because I hunt in more than one state, and it's pretty awesome to use. All kinds of cool features. Actually, just published our show with On X on our YouTube channel, which I think was episode 175. And on that show, Jared shows you some of the features on his desktop. So check that out because it's really pretty cool. And check them out. Black Ovis, use our code MWW10 for 10% off. Now's a good time to get some arrows for next year. Just saying, wintertime, get them now and get shooting. Use that custom arrow ID builder. And sister company Camo Fire, download the app, check out all the daily gear deals that you can check out. I've gotten better about getting back on my app and seeing what I can get. I'd like to find myself another gear hoist that I've got, which I think is technically a Hawk gear hoist, but I'm not positive. It's basically just a kite, the things that the kite stuff was on, the kite string, and it's got paracord on it and then a little carabiner at the end of it. I love that damn thing. I've been using it for years, and I'd like to get a second one because I'm worried about breaking that one. So anyway, check them out. Zamberlan Boots, ZamberlanUSA.com. Reveal Cameras by Tacticam. I'm going to do a product highlight of that, which is the solar panel. I've got a camera that has been running off that solar panel the entire year, and I've never had to go back out to that camera once. So I think next year I'm going to make sure every single one of the cameras that can have it is going to have a solar panel because that's been worth its weight in gold, to be honest with you. And they're not that expensive to get the solar panels. So check them out. Reveal Cameras by Tacticam. And then last but not least, our buddy Dustin Williams over at Habitat Works. Habitat Works. Check him out on his Facebook page. Mention us when you call. You get 15% off any service. Or right now, he's actually offering free consultations, which is huge. Just having Dustin tell you what he would do with a property is big. So check him out at Habitat Works, 816-752-7390, or habitatworksllc@gmail.com. That is the sponsors for today. We appreciate them. Let's get into our show with Adam Brune with Alps Outdoorz. This is the Missouri Woods and Water Podcast. Okay, with us today, I've got Adam Brune with Alps Outdoorz. Adam, what's up, man?
Not much. Thanks for having me on. Happy to be on the show.
Yeah, excited about this one. Our main contact there at Alps, Kyle, we've kind of talked about doing a show like this for a while. And well, you probably know how the world works and, schedules and things just happen. And for whatever reason, it didn't happen until today. And we're making it happen. And I'm excited about it. We talked about this a little before we recorded, but we've worked with Alps from the very beginning of our show, and we think the world of the company and the people that work there. And so I'm excited to talk about what it is Alps does in the outdoors, and we can even talk about some cool stuff you guys got too, because you got some cool stuff, and we use a lot of it. So before we get into all that, though, Adam, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us, where you're from, and you grew up in Missouri, so I'm going to ask you what your favorite thing about the Missouri outdoors is.
Yeah. So as you said, my name's Adam Brune. I'm from New Haven, Missouri, born and raised here. This is where Alps was started and founded by my dad, Dennis. I've lived here my whole life and grew up in the business. It was started out of our garage. Hear that all the time of people starting out of the garage. It literally was.
Yep.
So I've been around it and in it my entire life. And I'm fortunate to also be one of three siblings. So my older brother is involved and my younger sister. So all three of us second generation kids are involved with the business.
That's pretty cool.
But to your question about what's my favorite part of Missouri, it's got to be chasing whitetails. I've been hunting in different parts of the country. And yeah, we are pretty blessed with what we have in our backyard. And I think a lot of people that were born and raised here probably take it for granted, but
Yep.
yeah, that's absolutely my favorite part about living here in Missouri is having access to that.
Yeah. We did our year-end recap show last night as a group of the three of us, and we talked about if you had to move to a state that's not known for its whitetails, like let's say Florida,
Mm-hmm.
um, would you still have the same passion and for the whitetail? And all three of us were like, I think it would take some getting used to, leaving a state that is consistently one of the top states for whitetail and could be the top state if we would change a few things. And, you know, to move to a state where a big deer would be 110 inches or something like that. It would take a change in your um the way you look at things. Although I would never give up whitetail, but it would be different. It would definitely be different. Good thing I'm not moving anytime soon, as far as I know.
Yeah,
Um,
no, absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So, what's your background in the outdoors? I mean, I'm assuming, did you grow up doing hunting and fishing and all that sort of stuff? Did your dad kind of bring you up, off the knee that way?
So as we grew up, I was more involved with sports.
Sure, me too.
So I did some hunting and some camping. Um, yeah, a lot of it was because of the business. But there's only so many hours in the day, and in terms of how heavily I was involved in sports, like weekends and other things, I didn't do tons of it growing up, but um, since I've been with the company now for 17 years, I've gotten a lot more into both hunting and camping.
Nice. Yeah. I was kind of the same boat. I grew up camping with my dad or my parents, but I never hunted an animal until I was in college. And then, fell off the deep end, as they would say. And, now I'm sitting here talking about it, on a show, but, so I was in the same boat. Sports took up so much of my time growing up and take up a lot of my time now with the kids, but,
Mm-hmm.
that hunting wasn't a thing. We fished a lot. When we camped, we also
Yeah,
fished.
yeah,
Um, and those things were almost synonymous. Like if you went camping, you were going fishing too. Those happened at the same time.
right.
But yeah, the hunting side of it, which is what I love now. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I picked up a fishing pole outside of going with my son. Um, that's where I really went off the deep end. And through doing that, you do research on all kinds of stuff, and then you find an awesome company like Alps, who is also in the state of Missouri, and we're big supporters of Missouri-based companies as well. But I'm curious, has your dad ever told you the story on why he started Alps out of the house, out of the garage?
Yeah, I mean, he tells it all the time. So pretty much so his career started a company called ARP. So they were also here in New Haven,
Hmm.
and then they were actually the tent capital of the world for a while. This was back, I think, maybe in the 70s. I'm not exactly sure on that timing, but he kind of rose through those ranks and ended up running one of their branches for a while. Um, and then, yeah, he just knew that he had been doing it long enough that he could do it on his own. And he was at that point commuting down to St. Louis. And as I said, we were very heavily involved in sports. So as we got into middle school and high school, he was commuting and ended up having to miss a lot of our stuff. So he
Yep.
wanted to be able to have that flexible schedule and be his own boss, and had the work ethic and drive to make it happen.
And it's kind of grown. I mean, did it start with more tent style things back
Yeah.
then? I mean, how did it kind of grow throughout the years through, I mean, obviously we have tents and camping gear and um I mean, gosh, packs galore, honestly. You got all kinds of options, but it started mostly as a tent thing back in the day.
So very first it started because he actually had a non-compete for a couple of years. So it started with just fanny packs, believe it or not.
Yep.
So it was only backpacks for those first couple of years, and then that grew into tents, and then air pads and furniture, and that was all under Alps Mountaineering. So that's where it got started.
Okay.
In 1993, this is our 30th anniversary, is when it all got started. But for the first probably, I think, 14 years, it was just Alps Mountaineering. So Alps Outdoorz is newer, and that's when we got into the hunting backpacks, when we expanded into the Alps Outdoorz branch of our company.
That's cool. That I didn't. I would have said it was the other way around. If I was just guessing, because pack wise, I mean, I own so many of your packs now. It's actually probably embarrassing, but um, I actually have a picture from when my brother-in-law and I were in Wyoming. We were, backpack hunting off our backs,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not the best at taking pictures. In what I do. I talk about what I do, and I don't do a great job of filming or picturing. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
happened to get a picture one night. It was rain. It was getting ready to rain on us, and so I had my pack up under my vestibule. I'm pretty sure I've got the Helix tent. It's the red and
Nice.
gray one. It's the red and
Yep.
gray. So the
Yep.
Helix one person. Um, and then inside my tent is my Alps pad, my Alps
Mm-hmm.
sleeping bag, and then my elite pack is under the vestibule. The only thing that wasn't Alps in that picture was my bow, and
Oh,
I thought that was
nice.
kind of funny, because it kind of shows you, like where you can get kind of a lot of the gear you're looking for, from Alps. And my goal wasn't to make this a giant commercial for Alps, but that's really what it is. I mean, when we talk on our show, obviously Alps is a partner of ours, so sometimes people think that, well, you say their name, but you don't use any of their stuff. No, we have a lot of Alp stuff. I mean, we talk about your guys' tri-leg stool like it's the best thing since sliced bread, and that's a $20 item. Um, Although we found the XLT tri-leg stool.
Uh-huh. A little bit
Uh,
taller one.
yeah, that might be our next move up. Like we might go from the Ford XLT to the King Ranch or something like that. I don't know, man. That's pretty freaking sweet. It's amazing that extra couple inches. How much
Right.
more comfortable you can be on a coyote stand or wherever you're at. Um, but yeah, it's like, I mean, we have so much Alp stuff that there's an application for almost, a lot of the stuff that you guys have, and a lot of stuff on the wish list for us too. But um, what goes into? I mean, so every year you guys seem to add something new and something cool. Like this year, the Elite Pack came out, I think in 23. Pretty sure. Am I wrong
Mm-hmm.
about that?
Oh,
Okay.
Billy came out last year.
Okay, I know it's new. How about that? The Elite Pack
Yeah,
is new,
yeah,
and
yeah,
um, like every year, and we were excited to try it, and I obviously put it through its paces in Wyoming, and it worked amazingly. And then it seems like there's something new and cool every year. So do you guys try to look at needs that are out there and then try to fill them, or how what goes into your decision process on what you're going to try to bring out, um, you know, next year and the newest thing you're going to go for?
yeah. I mean, we invest heavily into product development. Like we got a great team of guys here, that they're like you. They're out there. They're not sitting behind a desk designing stuff. They're out there using it, abusing it,
Yep.
um, and that's how we make stuff better. But how do we get to that? Like we describe it a lot as a funnel. So we don't claim to have all the ideas, but whether it's people like you or friends in the industry or just other ideas that um, somebody might suggest, it's just a normal consumer. So it's taking those ideas and bringing it then down about what makes sense, what tweaks can we make, how can we make it better. But that's our job as product developers, is taking all those different ideas and figuring out a way to truly improve on stuff. I mean, we've got stuff. You talked about the Elite. That was been on the drawing board and in development for years. It's not like, well, to
Took
come out
5 months.
with this new line of backpacks.
Right.
Yeah. So it's years of design work and testing and improving, and we're not going to put a product out there that's not been tested and put through the ringer already.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, and that goes to show, like, actually, so I took two sleeping pads with me to Wyoming, and the other one I had was a different brand. I had it years before, and I never used it, so I took it.
Mm-hmm.
That one went with me day one because it was a little bit smaller than my Alps one
Mm-hmm.
was. So I'm like, I'll throw this one in the pack because I'm a little worried about space. I'm not sure how this is going to work. That sleeping pad did not make it through the night, my first night. And so I learned my lesson there because my Alps one not only made it through the entire trip, I never had to worry about, it going flat on me, or, I mean, um, it made it through the entire trip, and it was a lot more comfortable. It wasn't near as freaking loud as the one I had that was smaller. That thing was loud. Every time I moved, it made noises. And that's just a damn sleeping pad. But you notice stuff like that when you're out in the woods. That tent, that Helix one person tent, I was so damn worried about, how small a tent was. And, I made the
Mm-hmm.
decision. I actually talked to Kyle before going out there because I have the Lynx as well. I have a Lynx one person tent.
Uh-huh.
And the Lynx is a touch heavier than the Helix
Oh
was,
yeah. Yeah.
or is. And I was talking to Kyle and another fella with you guys who's one of your product fellas. And he's like, try the Helix out and let us know how it was, because I think you're going to be happy with that. And I was so worried about how small it was going to be. And I had
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big dude, so let's remember that, but I had so much room. And we got pissed on. I mean, absolutely pissed on the third day we were out there. And I was so worried because we're up on this mountain in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming, and it's cold, it's raining, and it's
Mm-hmm.
hours upon hours to get back to our truck. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get wet. And I have no change of clothes. I was as minimalistic as I could be. I had an extra pair of socks as the only thing extra I had, and I'm like, I'm gonna get wet. And so we hunkered down in our tents, and the feeling you have of just sitting in that tent in the rain, just going, huh, this is kind of cool. You just chilling in the rain. And then when I got a
Yeah.
little chilly, I'd pop into my sleeping bag, which is friggin' awesome. I wish I remember the name of which one that is. It's a 0 degree, I'm pretty sure. I pop into that thing and warm right up in that thing, and then get a little warm and get back out of it and just be like, this. I cannot believe how dry I'm staying. Um, and that stuff has to perform when you're out there.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
you know, and that's what's cool about the Alps stuff, in my opinion. And I don't have a lot of experience with tents, um, with, sleeping bags, things like that. But I know like my elite pack, it comes with hip pouches, it comes with rain fly, it comes with everything you need to go hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's other really good Western packs out there, but they're like double the cost for a
Oh yeah.
basic pack.
Yeah.
And so, like if someone might see, well, the Alps Elite Pack is a little, cheaper, it must not perform. No, I'm here to tell you, I watched it perform. I watched it
Oh
out
yeah.
there. I didn't get to pack an elk home, although I did take an elk head home because I found a dead head. So it got to pack something out. But I was positive it was going to perform with meat on it too, because it was set up to do that.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's really
And
cool to see, the development of some of these products and, actually then using them in the field.
yeah. I mean, you asked earlier, like, how do we decide what we develop or, some of those decisions? I mean, part of it too is um, requests from our dealers or customers, like just exactly like you said. That's an Alps product that's lower price. It must not be as good. And as silly as it sounds, like it's been hard to convince people um, on our value, like because that has been our positioning from day one.
Yep.
Like typically you either have low quality, low price, or you have really high quality, really high price. We give you the high quality, but at a fair price.
Yep.
And because that positioning is a little bit unique, sometimes we do have to work a little bit harder to prove to people that it is as good as those things that are double the price. And it's people like you that go out there and use it and abuse it. They're like, yeah, it does work, it performs, and it's just as good as that stuff that costs twice as much.
Yeah, and then I mean you add on, it's already like a lot of the stuff you can buy is already a decent price, and then you're a company that wants to give back. I mean, we have a 30% discount code with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody can get on your website and buy something for a decent price already, and you get 30% more if you use our code. Or I've got a brother-in-law who's a lifetime member to RMEF.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not. He gets 50% off Alps.
Yeah.
Um, for life because he's a
Yeah.
lifetime RMEF member. So
Right.
you guys really do give back, as much as you can. Obviously you don't want to lose money in these situations, but man, I mean, it's really cool to see somebody be able to go, hey, I need a good pack and not spend all of their money that they had allotted to go out there on just that. They can maybe get a nice
Right.
pair of boots the same year they got that pack,
Right.
which is what was big for us.
Yeah. And again, that goes back to Dennis when he started the company years ago. That was always his motto: more gear for more people. Like, if you can go out there and get more people in the outdoors to experience it, I don't know too many people that have went out there and haven't enjoyed being outside. But not only that, it's just like you talked about with your experience. If you go out there and you get wet, that's not experience. So whether it's your pack performing comfortably and carrying well, or when you sleep, you stay warm, or when it rains, you stay dry in your tent, like all those things help make it enjoyable for you when you're out there.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so before we move on to what you guys do in the outdoors, which is really kind of, I think the coolest part of today's show, um, I'm going to put you on the spot. See what you
Okay.
think, because I've got some favorites. And you can use, I guess you can use any of the items that you guys sell, but do you have a favorite tent that you guys sell? Do you have a favorite?
A favorite tent. Um,
I kind of do
well,
now.
I mean, they're
I mean,
they're
obviously there's
so
family size tents and there's the
yeah,
singles, but
yeah. They're so diverse. But in terms of where I'm at right now in my life with four kids, I'm probably gonna say the family. It's our Camp Creek 2 room.
mhm.
Just because we can put the kids on one side and me and my wife can be on the other, and we all got enough room in there. Put the air beds in there, and yeah, we can all fit and be in one tent. You don't have to worry about everybody spread out all over the place. So
Yep.
put me on the spot in terms of family camping. That would be the one.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what about your favorite? So here's I've struggled with this one. Do you have a favorite whitetail pack that you guys sell? And obviously that can
I
include your elite if you want, but usually a whitetail pack is typically going to be a little smaller than that, and depending on the type of whitetail hunting you're doing, I guess you could be going 3 miles back on public ground, and then I really
yeah,
would recommend the 1800 Elite because then you've got the ability to pack meat. But
yeah,
for normal Missouri hunters, what's your favorite whitetail pack?
yeah. That one's, I'll say, easier for me. It's the Impulse.
Okay,
I don't
yeah.
know if you've run that one yet, but it uses our dead quiet fabric.
Hmm.
So we basically eliminated all the zippers on it. So it's designed around bow hunting, extremely quiet. I mean, I know you've been out there plenty, but when you're out in the woods, every little noise seems like it's amplified. So the fabric's quiet, but it also has a membrane in there. So it's kind of like a fleece type fabric.
Yeah.
But that membrane in there doesn't allow water or moisture to soak through.
Hmm.
So, and it's designed in a way that that top flips open, so you can hunt out of it when you're up in the stand, and kind of use it as your caddy. So for me, yeah, that thing is the best whitetail pack I've ever used.
Well, uh, now you've got me mad because I don't have an Impulse yet. I've got a Pursuit. Um, I've got. I feel like I might have. Oh, I've got a Crossfire,
Uh-huh. Those have
and
been in the line and tried and true, but yeah, the Impulse
yeah,
came out probably 3 years ago, I think.
yeah. It was. I remember it
Um,
being a new pack when we were working with you guys.
yeah,
I
yeah,
might have to try that this next year. Who
yeah.
knows?
That's my go-to. I'd recommend it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's move into. Oh, and by the way, just so you know, the reason we knew who Alps was because Andy on our show, so he's got to get the credit for this one. Andy used a turkey pack of your guys's that had the legs on it. I can't remember what the
Uh-huh.
turkey one's called, the Grand Slam, if I remember
Grand
correctly.
Slam. Yeah. Yep.
And when we were talking about who might we want to work with, he's like, we should look at those guys because they make cool packs. I'm pretty sure they're
Yeah.
in Missouri, and so we looked into it, and so he's the one. He is the one that had it. Now then you start to like look at some of the stuff you got, and you're like, oh, that's Alps, that's Alps. Didn't even realize what that was.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. But the premise of this show was we're going to talk about what I think is really cool, and that's what Alps does, giving back and getting people into the outdoors. So I'm assuming this started with your dad back when he was running the company. That one of the main goals of starting Alps was to also figure out a way through a business to get people in the outdoors or give back to the community as much as possible.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Um, and it probably wasn't so much so back when he started, but I think it's pretty safe to say, like right now, with the way that things are and kids and their tablets and TV, like getting outside can just do wonders for people. So they help foster that. Specifically, more so with the hunting side of things, we have an initiative called Share the Lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
where that's basically that's what it is. Like we're not saying go out and be a hunter, but it's the lifestyle that we all love and enjoy. It's going outside, it's camping, it's fishing, it's hunting, like going for a walk, like whatever it is, like getting outside. And that lifestyle is really what we try to help expose people to, because that is one thing that I think we absolutely take for granted, being not only from Missouri but rural Missouri. There's a lot of places that they just don't have access to that, or like I said earlier, like I haven't met too many people that once they experience that they aren't hooked almost instantly, or to see kids smiles on their face the first time they break a claybird, or
Mm-hmm.
catch that first fish. Just that pure joy and excitement on kids' face. It's not only kids; it can be, you know, or like you said, you didn't start till college. Like, but once you get people hooked, man, like it's that ripple effect too. Because if you can get one person hooked, like they're going to tell their buddies and friends and family. Like, so yeah, that's our goal and that's our mission, and that's what we love to do.
By the way, that Facebook page, they do have a Facebook page that is dedicated to share the lifestyle, which interestingly enough, the acronym for is STL, which is from
Yep.
where they're from. So it's Alps Outdoors with a Z, and then dash share the lifestyle. So if you want to join that group to kind of foster that, I recommend you do that. We're in the group, and another thing that Alps does that we were like super. I told you this before we recorded because I didn't know if you actually knew this or not, but the first year, so we just had our third annual um, youth deer hunt in our county, and a nice couple puts that on every year, and it's for all the youth deer hunters. And the goal of this couple is that every year that any kid that signs up to be in this deer contest, any kid that signs up is going to walk away with a prize, whether they kill a deer or not. They want a kid to win something,
Hmm.
because as a kid, when you win something, you get happy, whether it's something small or not. And so I remember they asked us if we wanted to maybe help the very first year they were doing this, and we were like, "Hey, sure, we'll try our best." So we started reaching out to a few of our partners, and I reached out to Kyle, and I'm like, "Hey, this is what's going on. Is there any chance that you guys would want to be involved with us in that, and we'll make sure to give them Alps's information and that sort of stuff." And he's like, "Yeah, I'll send you some stuff." And I was like, "Great." I'm expecting to get like a backpack or two, and like maybe a blind, like a few small, something small. We added it up, and we had like 3 grand worth of stuff sent to. There were so many boxes in my driveway that day when I got home that I remember calling Kyle, and I'm just like, I didn't mean for you to send this much. He's like, "No, it's for kids, man. We love doing this. This is right up our alley." There's one on the St. Louis side of the state. I think you guys work with and do that for as well. And you guys so far have been the single largest contributor um, to that tournament or that event every single year. And and then we've gotten some other things too, but it's always like just thousands of dollars worth of stuff for these kids, hats and bags. And one year it was like 15 or 20 little backpacks for all the kids. So they had a hard time, like, giving it, like, okay, we're going to put it in this pack. And I mean, it was just so cool. And that goes a long way for kids, like especially kids. Adults, we like to win stuff too, sure. But for a kid, even if you don't kill a deer in a tournament like that, and then you walk out of there with just a stupid hat, you
Yep.
just want to, that's all you want, which that's not what a kid, I mean, these kids are winning some really cool prizes in this thing. But if that's all you walked out of, most kids are like, "That's cool. I won this."
Yeah.
And they remember
That's
that, and they want to go
oh
do it
yeah.
again the next year.
Oh yeah.
And that means they're hunting,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's really great. And yeah, like Kyle said, we're happy to do it. We love to do it. And just the fact that you guys are such a great part, that's a great event that you guys do. So um I wish that there would be more people out there doing stuff like
Yeah.
that. So yeah, we're happy to support as much as we can in that arena for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, I have to give all the credit in the world to two people. Their names is Josh and Carrie Goodman. They're the ones who put this on. We just helped sponsor it. We just got some stuff for them. But
Hmm.
they do all of it. I mean, they've got so many volunteers that help weigh the deer. They cook. They have meals for both days. So they
Hmm.
have lunch. They have a big dinner that night, the Sunday night, and then they announce all the winners live on Facebook. So you don't have to be present to win either. You just have to be a registered hunter. Right now, it's only 2 counties, so it's in Lafayette and Johnson counties, Missouri, that they're running it in, and that's probably the biggest thing is trying to figure out how to get it bigger because you can only, serve so many people in that one
Yeah.
area. Well, the idea is maybe someone in a neighboring county that doesn't have it starts one, so that
Right.
those kids can, go to a cool event like that, because you really don't have that stuff for kids when it comes to whitetail hunting.
Hmm.
Um, you can go to coyote tournaments, a little more adult rated type of tournaments for the most part, but you can find those. Fishing tournaments, you can find that sort of stuff, fishing derbies, things like that. But whitetail is hard to find, and so that was cool that they started it. And and I know there's one over on that side of the state too that's going on. What are some other things you guys have been involved in over the years? Um, have you got to be a part of some other cool events like that?
Yeah. Like over the years, like we've been involved in all groups. So whether it's Army F,
Yep.
Limited, DU, and WTF, and so they all have different versions of kind of like what you're describing of. I think that some of them call them like learn to hunt events. So whether that's for youth or mentoring or even adults, like there's just everybody's kind of got their different version of that. There's actually some where we took our basically our whole company, and anybody that was a hunter was the mentor, and anybody that wanted to be involved but was T. And we all went hunting together as a company. We did something similar this season after we harvested some deer. We all cut up deer together. We taught people how to skin them and cut them up and which parts do what, and kind of trying to do that whole thing from A to Z, or a lot of people call it field to fork. But just more so than just saying, okay, well, you can go out and hunt, but it doesn't just stop there. Um, Getting people to enjoy that food as well is a huge part of it, because that's been one of the biggest things for me is when I first got into it, like I was kind of okay with the food, but that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the main reason that I did it. I did it more for the camaraderie and that type of thing. But over the years, like I want that food in the end as much as anything, because it if you prepare it correctly, it tastes great. And helping people learn how to prepare it, and then also that it breaking down some of those barriers and some of the stigmas against it, I think is an important step as well. So
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you learn the back straps and the inner loins are not something you want to turn into burger.
that's right. That's right.
I don't remember where I learned that. It's been several years, but my son killed his first buck this year, um, and we took it to the processor. Right now, I'm using processors, and we've got a good local processor that I know these guys and they're good guys. And he's like, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "Well, you know for a fact that the inner loins and the back straps have to come off. They've got to come off.
Mm-hmm.
And then outside of that, what do you want to do, buddy?" And he got some sausages made, some jalapeno sausage for his grandpa, and some snack sticks. And then I like to get a lot of ground because I love making jerky. It's probably my favorite thing to do with deer is making my own jerky.
Mm-hmm.
And um, that boy bothers me dang near every night about cooking his steaks. And I've done a poor job of planning it, but the next time we have steaks as a family, I need to set his out too and just
Mm-hmm.
cook them. But I'll be honest with you, I haven't cooked a deer tenderloin or a loin or backstrap in a while. I'm scared to heck to mess it up, and I don't want him to have his first
Oh
his
yeah.
first experience be a bad one. So
Mm-hmm.
I need to like make sure I'm on my game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be using my oh, what the heck's that Blackstone. I'll use that to cook it, so it should be a nice even heat. I shouldn't have issues with that, and I just need to be ready to treat it differently than a beef steak, because beef steaks
Oh
are
yeah.
easy to tell when they're done, but when you have lean meat, it's a touchy subject.
Yeah. From my experience, and I'm definitely no great chef, but I think when you overcook deer deer steaks and deer meat, that's when it starts getting tough. So I think that's kind of the key is to not overcook it. I think some people get freaked out. Well, then it kind of looks bloody or whatever. But if yeah, that's been my experience is just don't overdo it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that I remember when we cooked some elk burgers a few years ago as a group, and that's the weirdest thing with elk. Elk's even more lean than a deer is, from
Mm-hmm.
what I can gather. And you're cooking the burger, and as soon as you think it's done, it's overcooked.
Mm.
You should have
Yeah.
stopped. You should have stopped and
Yeah.
it almost looks raw when you should have stopped, but it's
Hmm.
done. It just doesn't have the fat that beef has in it, and so
Right.
you got to be ready to pull it off at the right time. So I'm
Yep.
gonna make sure I pay attention. I'm gonna pay more attention to temperature than I do what it looks like, so that he can have a nice
Hmm.
first experience. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's got some up there right now that, and it was a nice young buck too, so I know it's not going to be like super bad. It's going to be, and he died immediately, quick kill. Um, we got it there fast, so should be really really good. Really
Nice.
excited about it.
Yeah.
So what do you got going on? I'm assuming your deer season's over for the most part. Are you still doing any hunting?
No, I think I'm done for the year.
Yep.
Yeah, obviously right now we're into the holidays, and then coming up here in January, we're gonna start traveling quite a bit for different trade shows. So yeah, our family's probably done hunting for the year.
Yeah. Do you have a pretty good year?
Yeah, I so it was pretty special for me. Last year, my son went out with me and my wife for the first time. Didn't shoot, but he went out and sat out there with me.
Yep.
So that was pretty cool. But then this year, um, he's been bugging me all year. So basically told him like you got to practice, you got to get yourself ready. It's not just show up and shoot a deer. So we did that all summer long, and he was ready. So him and my whenever he wanted to go, then that triggered my older daughter to want to go as well. So we had both of them and my wife, all four of us in one blind hunt together, which was pretty special. So with two young kids, we didn't see a whole lot of deer. They haven't learned to be quiet. Um, but I mean, I wasn't going to sit there and shush them the entire time and
Right.
just make
Right.
it unenjoyable. And I for sure wasn't going to bring technology out there for them. Like to me, that's why you go out into the woods, is to experience being out there. It's not to sit there on your phone or tablet or anything like that. So that's pretty special being out there as a family unit like that. And he didn't. He shot a couple times and missed. So it's a learning process for him, but um, we had a good time for sure.
Yeah, I mean, failure is part of hunting. And honestly,
Oh,
I
absolutely.
think the younger a kid can learn that, it might be better for him. Um,
Yeah.
I don't say I want my kids to fail, but my oldest son has already killed a deer before, but this year he had the opportunity to kill a really nice 8 pointer, and he missed. And he was upset because we initially I thought he did hit the deer and it was a dead deer, and I couldn't find blood. We go back the next morning, I made sure there was no hit. He missed the deer,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
he got upset. I don't want to embarrass the boy, but he got upset about it, and I said, hey,
Yep.
listen, like this is a good a learning spot for you, because if you hunt long enough, I don't care what people are going to tell you on Facebook or what they're going to tell you on some social media. If you hunt long enough, you're going to either mess up and you're going to wound a deer, or you're going to miss.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's going to happen to you. And
Yep.
so how you handle it moving forward from that is what is most important. I said, so don't be too upset with yourself. It's just hunting. I'm glad you missed, because now he's not hurt and he's not, potentially dying somewhere.
Yep.
You missed. But when you think you might have hit something, this is the type of work you have to do to try to make sure you either recover the animal, or you make sure that he's not dead. Um,
Yep.
we don't go just looking for 5 minutes, and if we don't find him, we'll try again. That's not how it
Yep.
works. Um, so I actually, I mean, I was upset that he failed, more at myself, because I think I'm the reason that he messed up, not him. I'm the dad. I should have had him set up a little better. I should have made him wait until the deer stood up. It was a laying down buck. So,
Hmm.
you've heard horror stories, and I didn't think there was going to be one, but he did miss. So, I put more pressure on myself, or more of the blame on myself, because I should have put him in a better situation to succeed. But I'm glad he got to that experience. I would have rather that
Yeah.
happened than nothing at all. You know,
For
because at
sure.
least he got to experience what it's like to miss a deer. And next year he might have a bigger one show up that
Yeah.
he won't have that same experience. Same thing with your son. He missed a few times. It sounds like he might be younger. He must be younger. Didn't I think I saw a
Yeah,
picture, but
he just turned 7.
yeah, so he's younger than mine. But maybe next year he's got that experience under his belt of missing that he knows what it's going to take, to get it done at 8.
Right.
And they don't get those experiences sitting at home in front of Fortnite and their switches and
Yep.
all that stuff.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. I didn't want to miss either, but yeah, I also didn't want, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I didn't want some giant buck walking out and he shoot that the first time he was out there either. So yeah, it's a
Yeah,
little bit humbling, but it's kind of like playing sports. Like sometimes when you lose, you learn more when you lose than you do when you win. So
yeah,
yeah, take that as a learning experience. Absolutely.
yeah. How do you feel about that? A kid killing a giant like a booner on their first deer.
It kind of spoils them for life. But I mean,
Yeah,
you're not going to tell them to pass it if the opportunity presents itself. But
yeah.
yeah, it
So
seems like you hear those stories all the time.
you do. So we had a deer we were after this year that Micah ended up killing, and me and my son were on the same farm the same morning it happened. We were hunting together. We just weren't together. Me and Micah and Caden. So during rifle season and even youth season, when I took the boys hunting, I wasn't hunting. I was
Mhm.
with the boys. So like that day, Caden was the shooter. I was the guide,
Mhm.
and that deer ended up walking out in front of Micah, and he got shot by Micah, but he was headed our way. So
Yeah.
Micah's like, so 179-inch deer, which is what he ended up being. If he
Wow.
would have walked in front of Caden, would you have let him shoot him? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, that would have ruined him for life, And then we start making that joke. I'm like, well, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a good chance you don't ever shoot a bigger deer than that. I can promise you,
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, anything inside 200 yards, I was going to let him shoot the deer.
Yeah.
And if he would have missed, now I would have maybe been upset. But yeah. So we started talking about that, and it's made me think. Does it mess a kid up if they kill a giant, the first time, or does it just light that fire even more that they want that
Yeah.
experience again? I don't know.
Yeah. It probably depends on the kid a little bit, but yeah, like you're talking like I wasn't ever gonna pressure my son or daughter to shoot. Like if they were
Right.
comfortable and they were ready, like I wasn't I wasn't gonna pressure him. Like if it would have been a giant and he passed, then he did. Or if it was a doe and he wanted to wait for a buck, like I'm not gonna sit there and tell him he has to shoot or needs to shoot. He was the one hunting and it was gonna be his decision. And I was gonna help him in any way that I could, but I wasn't gonna pressure him into shooting and it's comfortable.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. That makes a lot of sense. And that's what it's about, is getting out there with the kids. I've had more fun these last 3 seasons with my sons.
Yeah.
And like this year, I think I counted up how many times I was out in the woods, but I wasn't actually hunting because I was with my kid hunting. And
Mm-hmm.
damn near half of my hunts this year, I wasn't the hunter. And
Yeah.
it's really fun. The biggest thing is having to get used to a blind. I'm not typically a blind hunter. I don't like being in blinds. I
Mm-hmm.
was in a blind more this year than I have been in my entire life.
Yeah.
In my entire life. And that's mostly just because of the boys. It's a little easier to, because you can
Yeah.
move around a little more in
Yeah.
there. You can have the gun sitting on a tripod, or
Mm-hmm.
like the crossbow sitting on a tripod, so it's a little more stable of a shot. I get it, and I actually didn't mind it too much. So those days it was raining and we were dry, that worked out pretty well.
Wasn't all
But
bad. Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't all bad. Adam, why don't you tell people how they can check out Alps Outdoors and the Alps brand of families, or family of brands, and follow you guys on social and things like that?
Yeah. So if you want to say our whole umbrella of brands, it's alpsbrands.com. And under that umbrella, it's Alps Mountaineering, which is our camping brand, Alps Outdoors with a Z, like you said earlier. We also are the licensees for Browning Camping.
Mm-hmm.
So there we basically just have an arrangement with Browning to put their buck mark on our camping gear. And then we have another brand called Cedar Ridge, that is camping oriented, but it's just a little bit lower price point. So again, recognizing that there's different people out that are doing different experiences that allows people to kind of get introduced to camping at not such a big budget commitment. So, but yeah, then we've got those on social as well, Alps Outdoors and Alps Mountaineering. We're on Facebook, um, Instagram. We're on YouTube. So yeah, connect with us at any of those areas for sure.
Awesome. Well, Adam Brune, I really appreciate your time today coming on, talking about Alps' story and what they like to do in the outdoors. It's not real common for companies to, start with a love of the outdoors and then continue
Mm-hmm.
that love, trying to, push it into generations in front of us. So I appreciate your time today, and we'll talk to you later, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate
All right.
it.
See you, man.